Hi friends, Renee Keese here with Carolina Creative. I am a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and I'm here with some more card crafting ideas for you. It's still Christmas in July, and so I'm going to focus once again on this Seasons of Green and Gold suite because I'm having so much fun playing with it. So today I am going to use some stamps out of the stamp set. I'm going to use some of the dies out of this set. My last video, I showed off the gorgeous paper that comes with this. There are gold embossed images, there's greenery, there's pretty images of leaves and pine boughs here. And at the very end, I talked about how you can actually die cut some of these. You can punch out the leaves, this, and this. And so I'm going to have some of that today. But what I didn't talk about last time is there's another set of papers. There are vellum papers that come with this set as well. And so you've again got the two different types of leaves. You've got this snowy background, and then the pine boughs here, either with and without the snow, the frosted snow look. So I'm going to use some, you can see I've already been cutting these out. I'm going to use some of these today as well. I'm going to do some stamping and some die cutting, and then die cut directly out of the Designer Series paper. So I'll flip the camera and get started here, and you'll be able to see what I'm working on. The first thing I wanted to do was to stamp my own pine bough. Even though I'm going to use some of them punched out, I'm going to use, add some different colors and try to give it a little more depth. So I'm going to take my pine bough, the bigger one. I just grabbed the wrong one. So let me clean that. I wanted that for the dark. I want the bigger pine bough for the background. And I'm doing this the first time in soft seafoam. So I'm going to put this on here. Yep. And then I think I'm done with this. The next thing I'm going to do this two different ways just to show how much variability you can get out of this stamp set. And now I do want the more fine bow lines here, and I'm going to do it in garden green. So I've got two different tones there. And what I could do is stamp it again and just give it a little bit more. Okay, I do kind of like that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch, and I'm going to use this garden green, the darker color, for the heavy background. I'm going to do this twice on this piece of scrap here and then punch both of these out. So here's my background. I'm going to clean that and set it aside. And now I've pulled out Shaded Spruce, which is another shade darker, a slightly different green. You'll be able to see it on the inks here. A slightly different green. And I'm going to put this with the more fine lines right over the top. And so it does give it a much darker outline. I'm going to hold these up to the camera because they're very, very different. So that's one way to get your own boughs, pine boughs, and then I'm going to set it up with my cut and emboss machine and use the die cut. I'm going to set that aside for right now. The next thing I want to do is I want to use the bells that are in this stamp set. I think these are just adorable. So I've got So Saffron and I've got Wild Wheat. So the first thing I want to do is stamp the bell background. And that would be this stamp. I've already put the two stamps on the one block. And I'm going to stamp them almost side by side because I've done this already. So I know this is going to work and I can punch them out. So there's my bell background, and I may, because I've got enough space here, I'm going to put one more little bell right there. And then to line this up, I'm going to take it apart so that you can see how I did this. To line this up, I'm going to take them both off. This is the outline of the bell, and it's going to be an accent. So now what I'm going to do is line it up where I want it to sit on the image I've already stamped. Just like this. And then I'm going to put them on my block. So now I know that they're going to line up correctly. And so I'm going to use a darker color for the outline here. So this is the Wild Wheat. Copper clay would look good. In fact, the embossing powders, gold and bronze would look really cool and give it some dimension. I have not done that yet, but it's been on my mind. I can see through the stamps because they're clear, so I can line this up. And it doesn't need to line up, perfectly. They're supposed to kind of just be accents. There we go, just like that. So I've now got 3 bells ready to be punched out. And I'm going to set that aside. Because I'm almost done stamping, I did go ahead and pull one of the cool shapes out of the greetings of the season. And so I want to go ahead and stamp my sentiment that I'm going to use on my card. And then I'll show you all my other little parts and pieces. So I'm simply using the love and joy. And again, this could be done in gold. This could be done with embossing powder. There's just a lot of different ways that you could use. I have so many ideas for this stamp set. I just don't know. Sometimes I don't know where to start. So let me close this up. I'm done stamping for right now. And I am going to, pull over my embossing machine. And I'm going to go ahead and punch these things out. I'm going to have to run through twice. So first I'm going to set that up. I'm going to get my bell lined up here and the other one going this direction, and there's just enough room that the dies don't touch each other. Now what I should have done is pulled my top layer out first. So I think I didn't move it. I'm in good shape. So I'm going to make my sandwich. Very typical 3 layers. And I'm going to run it through the machine. And out the other side comes my parts and pieces. And I'm going to I'll drop these down to the bottom, and then because I'm going to run it through again, and then I'll show you all the parts and pieces. Okay, I'm going to put that down. So now I've got one more bow I'm going to punch out here, and I've got a small bell. So let me get this lined up. Here we go. I'll move it up so that it can be seen, just like that. Put the top layer on my sandwich and run it through in reverse. There really is no reverse, it's all forward. It's just you're cranking in different directions and it goes back and forth. Okay, so I will now move this out of my way because I'm done with all the die cutting. Here we go. And scoop that out of my way so that I can focus on my work area here. So I now have bells. I have pretty golden bells. I have bows to choose from. I have already die cut out of the Designer Series paper. This has gold embossing on it, so I've got one of the leaf patterns. I've got another pine bough here, but with the vellum, so you can kind of see through that. And I think these are the pieces I want to use. Right now, what I'm leaning toward is not that dark one. I'm going to set that aside. I have an old olive paper card base here. And then I pulled 2 pieces of Designer Series paper out of this Seasons of Green and Gold. This first one I cut at 5 by 3 3/4, and I made the smaller one 3 by 4. So I'm going to design the card this way and just create greenery around this theme. I'm just going to lay this together, and you can kind of see what I'm thinking. I think I want this on this side and this bow on this side, and I need to make it kind of fit onto the card. And what I'm going to do is tuck my sentiment under this. Yeah, so it plays peekaboo, but the bells are going to kind of hang down there. So I'm going to loop 2 of these bells together. They already have holes punched out, which is kind of cool. So I can put those together right on here. Now, I did pull out some of this gold. It came in gold and silver, Simply Elegant trim, gold and silver. And what I'm thinking is I'm going to tie these bells together with a bow and then adhere that right straight onto the card front. So this picks up the gold here, it picks up the gold there, it just kind of coordinates with all the green and gold. There we go. I want them to go this way, and I'm just going to tie a bow, plain and simple bow. Then I'll see what I need to adjust. Yeah, like that. So now you kind of get the feel for, I'm just making a spray, basically, a spray of greenery. But there's three, it's all three different types. So there's a lot of variety here. And then I'm going to add love and joy. I did not pull an insert for this card. So let me do that, and then we'll design that in just a second. I guess I wasn't done stamping when I said I might be done stamping. Let me pull a sentiment here. This seems to be my favorite one I keep reaching for because I love what it says. May your holiday season be filled with warmth and cheerful celebration. So let me go ahead and stamp that for the inside of my card. And I think now to match my card base, I could stick with the old olive, or I'm going to be different. I'm just going to use the garden green because that's what I've used on the front. With so many shades of green, I think you can do that. You can easily mix this up and it will look just lovely. May your season be filled with warmth and cheerful celebration. What a nice message. And then one more thing I'm going to do on the inside is I'm again going to use the soft seafoam, just because it's such a gentle wispy color. I'm going to put just a little bit of greenery in here. So it just looks like pine bough. Here we go. Yep. Perfect. So that's not going to interfere if you're writing a message inside this card. There's plenty of space for that, but I like having a little extra something on the inside. So I'm again going to start from the inside out, and let me dot on my liquid glue here. That should be plenty to hold that down. Just like that. And then close my card. And now I'm going to start building. I think what I'm going to do is put the papers together first. And then I will adhere the whole thing onto the card base. And, liquid glue, stamp and seal, whatever you prefer. For this time, you see, I grabbed my stamp and seal. Sometimes I like to use the liquid glue if I think I'm going to have to adjust and slide around. This is a gorgeous background too, but I felt like it was just too busy if I was going to put a whole spray on top of it. You can, maybe to contrast, if I use this, I would just put a green band and then put my spray on it. So yeah, so there's plenty of things that you can do with this cardstock or in the designer series paper. Okay, so that's that. Now I flip this over and let me just look at my inspiration again so I have some idea where I'm putting all these parts and pieces. And I find if the stems are too long or I feel like they're going to be showing and I don't want all that, I just kind of snip them off. This one especially looks a little long. If I need to tuck it in there, if it's too big, take it off. So now, I think I'm going to start with this first spray because it's kind of big, and then I'll work around it. But I want to leave a little room so that I can tuck this sentiment up under there. So I'm going to keep my fingers on there. And I'm going to put stamp and seal in 4 different places to help hold this down. So let me just imagine again where I think I want this to go. And it's not rocket science. We can play with this. I'm going to have it overlap a little bit. That's fine. I do think I need to glue this down next. So I'm just going to put some liquid glue behind it to hold it in place. And you could put dimensionals under there. I think I'm going to save dimensionals for the bells, though, or at least one of the bells. So now I'm going to put this one up a little higher. The cool thing is, because it's the vellum and you can kind of see through it, if I needed to cover up, I could. Ooh, I do kind of like that. The L and the love is still going to show right through it. So let me glue down this first, and the order doesn't really matter. It's whatever you think, however you want to layer it. I think I want the vellum on the very top. because it is the thinnest and it's the most see-through. And so I'm going to put that one down last. Now, luckily, because there is design on this, I can put glue on that and it won't matter. And you noticed I did reach for the liquid glue this time because I can slide it around and kind of get it into the position where I want it. So I'm putting that up a little higher. So now my bells are going to go right in the middle and kind of cover up where all those stems came together, just like that. So I'm going to put a glue dot behind my bow, but I want to make sure that I get that ribbon attached. And then I think I'm going to put dimensionals behind the smaller bell so it kind of pops up, and it's in the foreground in front of the larger bell. So with that said, we grab the glue dots right here, and then and I got it on there. And then my dimensionals are sitting here, so let me grab those. And because it's so small, I may only need one and a piece of one to be able to support that. So let me pull that backing off. At least that's my thinking. We'll see how this works. Sometimes what I imagine in my head doesn't always come together while I'm assembling the card. So I want to make sure I've got something to hold that ribbon, and I do, just like that. And if it doesn't sit the way you want it to sit, you just kind of tug on it till you get it where you want it. Yep, that's what I was envisioning. So for me, the last step is a little Wink of Stella. I think the bells definitely need some shimmer. And I do think I'm going to have to try some embossing on those, because that will really make it look sparkly, shiny, three-dimensional. I'm just adding a little bit more shimmer to what's already shimmery. Now I can see these are loose, and I kind of like that. I like the feeling that it's not all one-dimensional. So now I have made a card. I have used designer paper that's been punched out. I've used some vellum that was punched out. I have made my own pine bough that was with the colors, that I chose. I've stamped this using a little bit of gold in there, like the wild wheat, to give it the branchy look. I did this the other day playing around. Oh, I didn't add. I could put a little bling on here. Let me just grab a couple iridescent gems. I'm going to put one down with the sentiment. Yep, I'll hold it up and show you. So I've added just a couple of iridescent gems here, here, and up at the top. It's just another little layer of sparkle. But this is one card. I made one the other day. I guess it was yesterday. I was playing. So this is, again, stamped, two-tone stamping. This has the wild wheat along with shaded spruce. This was die cut, so it gives that really true pine bough look. And then this was cut out of the designer series paper. So a similar look. This has the opals, the iridescent opals. So again, there's just a little bit of subtle bling in there. And of course, I used my same sentiment. I'm just in love with that sentiment. So there's 2 card samples today. Different looks, different ways to build your spray. My bells are a little different too. I did these a little bit darker. There's just a lot of different ways you can use this set. So I'm having a lot of fun with the Seasons of Green and Gold. If you like what you see here, you can find me at #CarolinaCreative or @CarolinaCreative. And I'm also on the Stampin' Up! Network under Renee Keys. Thanks for joining. Stay tuned for another video.